Right. So again, I just want to welcome everybody to this class. Today is the first, and today we're going to touch base on the very basic questions. These are basic but very important questions. You may want to ask why even software testing? Why not developers who builds the software do the testing, right? It's a valid question. And why would be the software testing such an important role where you're ending up getting 80 to sometime 150? This week we just had a student get a 150 offer. So why is such a important role in a software industry where you get that much of a money? Why would any company pay? And I can assure you, I can tell you this much, that they will get gladly pay this much money in order to save money. And we can talk about that topic as well. And what are the benefit of software testing? Benefit of software testing is huge. It's something that will have a company stay in business, right? And then we got software engineering, testing in software engineering, which has engineering process and the best practices on how to carry on testing. And then we have the types of testing that we will talk about. And keep in mind, if I spend more time on one topic and ended up not covering, we will cover that the next time. The goal here is that we want to leave you with today at least understanding some of the topic more fluent in your understanding, so that way it helps you, right? And also, again, like I said, ask questions, because this will be an interactive session between me and you. So if you need to ask questions, just make sure that you hear our answer and then you ask the question. That way you end up getting a relevant question. All right, so what is software testing? Software testing is basically when you create some sort of list, checklist, or method to test a product to make sure that the product meets a criteria or requirement, and it doesn't have any issues, right? So what I can give you guys with some example, think about software as a house, right? You are the owner who paid for that house, and you wanted to build a house the way that you want, right? So it can be any other way. The sets of requirement, for example, you want one kitchen into the whole house, you want two bathroom, and you want three bedroom. So what if somebody puts three bathroom and two bedroom, right? That is not your requirement. So it's likewise, in software there are product owner who basically determines those requirements, and then there are business guys who actually um, implement, or who actually writes this technical document for us, right? So I'm going to write few roles. This is just basically to make you aware and understand what could be some of the roles, and this is going to be your team. So let's say the whole team who is going to be consists of. So first of all, you got product owner, right? You got business, and this will be some of the role that I'm talking about, but Shantabai will cover more about the team and the structure and all that stuff. You got developers, QA tester. So remember, we have many names, right? And in many companies, it depends what the HR want to call us, right? So you can be QA analyst, you can be QA engineer. So you can actually publicly call yourself engineer if you are a QA analyst, because you are an engineer, right? It's just that whatever the HR comes up with a role, right? Like whatever the naming convention they go within the company. Even QA tester, you meet somebody in the street, what do? I'm a QA tester, right? It doesn't sound too good, but if you say I'm a QA engineer, it sounds great. But actually, all of them have a similar responsibility. It's not that you become a QA tester where you get less money versus QA engineer. You will be doing the same thing. And I'll tell you why you can call yourself engineer rather than tester, even though you're testing, right? All right, and then we got, okay, so developer, QA, product owner, project manager. Okay, so these are the few roles in your team that I'd like to talk about. And then obviously there will be a bigger topic where Shantabhai will come in and talk about the entire team and how the team structure is. Guys, so far, any question that I'm diving into a bigger topic at this point? Okay, good. So no question, that's great. So let's move on. So project manager, what does the project manager do, right? A project manager is responsible for multiple projects, not just a single project. Sometimes if it's a small enough company, they are responsible for a single project, but they usually is responsible for multiple projects. They are pretty much making sure that a team has everything they need in order to get started. And by that means that if the team has product owner, if the team has business analysts, developers, QA, and if they have the right tools and technology and product, right? All of that, the project manager is responsible for, but also he's responsible for the timeline when the project should be delivered, and all that communication he'll be doing with other stakeholders or upper management. Okay, so project manager, you're not going to see him so much in your team. You're not going to see him in the space, in your team space if you're working physically. But oh, one thing that I want to make sure, you guys, can you guys see my screen? Just want to.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, cool. That's good. All right. Because all of a sudden my Chrome crashed, so I just want to make sure. Okay, so what the project manager do is they just facilitate the whole QA, the whole team with tools, technology, resources that need in order to continue to do their part. Okay. Then we have product owner. Okay, I made a spelling mistake. That's good. Now, what does the product owner do? So the word, always look at the keyword. Always try to look into the keyword, because most of the keyword will reveal their responsibility. Here, this guy has this is a project manager. He's responsible for the entire project, and he makes sure that everything, absolutely everything he can provide, including the resources, is there. Then we have the product owner. Product owner is somebody who's responsible for the product itself. Okay. Now, product owner makes sure that the whole team, developers, they get what the product owner wants, meaning he supplies with the requirements. And then business analysts, they take this raw requirement. Sometimes it's verbal, sometimes it is in written. So most of the time it'll be written, because it's, it's going to be a commercial product for a multi-million-dollar company. And then with that written statements and documents, business analysts will take it and they will create that as a readable document or technical readable document for developers and QA. So now business analysts, their responsibility is to make sure that these document gets translated into in such way that developers understands and QA understands that, right? That could be having multiple format of those documents. So imagine product owner says, I want to have, so I'll give you guys an example of Facebook, right? So that way it's easier because everybody knows Facebook. So let's say Facebook, adding a friend was not a thing, right? Facebook doesn't have adding a friend feature. And I'm the product owner for Facebook. Now, all of a sudden, I hear from business, or I hear from my team, they did some research, or data scientists, they did some research, and they thought that if I can allow people to have friends and they can add, I will be able to have more and more Facebook users, right? And that definitely is good for the business, right? So then as a product owner, I will say, okay, I want an ability to add friends, and those friends can add their friends, right? That is a requirement. Now business analysts will say, oh, okay, that's a great idea, let's talk about it. Now the business analyst will ask questions like, okay, so you want your friends, you want basically one of the user's friends to add their friends. Okay, what if somebody doesn't want to be added? can they decline? Yes, they can. Now this guy is being asked those questions, and this guy is basically asking questions to making the requirement more concrete. Okay, and then he will ask further questions. For example, if somebody was added and for any reason that person doesn't like to be in that group, can he exit, right? And then programmer will say yes, of course. But probably you're probably saying, okay, these are basic questions, these are very easy things. Trust me, in a software company, these are easy things and basic things they need to talk about because they're just now coming up with a feature. It's never existed, right? So they will be discussing, there will be back and forth between business and product owner, and that information will be then translated into different formats. So one could be use case, and I'll explain a little bit about the use case. And guys, just so you know, if you are not muted, if you have a question, please unmute and ask, not a problem at all. But if you are not asking a question, just mute yourself. That will be good for everybody. So that way you're not annoying anyone. Okay, so now use case is one of the format that you can create requirements, right? And then there are other business requirements, right? This could be another type of document. So think like different format of document. Like when you write an essay, it has a format, right? Where you have paragraphs and then you got multiple paragraphs, right? Guys, I'm gonna mute some of you guys right now because I thought we discussed about this. If you don't know how to mute, just go ahead and ask because it's okay, right? Not everybody knows everything. So, okay. All right. So like I said, guys, just be open. Here you can be open. If you don't know anything, not a problem at all. Just go ahead and say it. If not me, somebody else will help in this group. And remember, a QA or a person who is gonna be in this role, QA analyst, engineer, and tester, there are some qualities to this personality. Okay, these qualities will come when if you have experience or if you sort of getting that experience, right? It will come over time if you don't have it, but if you have it, that's great. Now you can say, what are the qualities, right? Number one is patient. Okay. Number one is patient, because some people like me, sometimes I'm also impatient. I don't want to read, I don't want to go through the whole thing, I don't want to follow the instruction, I just want to go ahead and build it, right? I get a maybe a furniture from IKEA, I don't want to follow anything, I just want to build it because I think I know it. Now that's not the way a QA engineers work. If we know it, if we think we know it, we don't really go about ourselves, we follow the instruction. Okay, that's one. Second thing is that you have to be detailed orientated. Okay, that means everything and absolutely everything you pay attention. Okay, you have to find the issues, right? You are the person who finds mistakes that these guys make right here. Okay, developers who actually build, they're responsible for coding. Okay, so they build the software and you find their issues. Okay, so you got to be smarter and clever than these guys. Okay, and lastly, about a QA analyst, you have to make sure that you are taking ownership, because many times you're going to be working on something, but you can't really depend on other people to say, okay, he's 10% done, so I'm going to reach out to this person or that person. You are the one who's going to be doing your reporting and sending statuses in your team. Okay, so I'm going to quickly write this down and then we're going to move on. Business analysts, basically they create some of the requirement. I'm just going to mention a few, which is use case, business requirement, and then we got the system requirement. So there were times where, and then last one is user story. And obviously there are a few more names that I can mention, but there were times where the system requirement was a big thing, business requirement was a big thing. Now everybody wants to create user requirement, user story, which is described in user point of view, which means that I want to have a feature where I can add my friend, right, in my Facebook. That's how it's described compared to use case. Use case is like, is basically described in two different sections. One is a user goes into Facebook, logs in, and then adds a friend. The system then responds to allow the friend to be added. Think about this way. This is how it is verbiage. So no matter what the verbiage is, no matter how they describe, it is still a requirement. So that's what I want you to understand, is that the reason why I mentioned a few names here. So these guys go ahead and write these requirements for you. And then developer then read the requirement, and then they can translate those requirements into code, where the code will create the functionality, okay, in the application. So they understand, they go over it. If they have any questions, they go back to this guy, business guy, right? So everybody, nobody's going to jump right into project manager. Nobody's going to go right into product owner. You know, there are some hierarchies we can talk about later, who should reach out to who, and even you should reach out to who, okay? You're not going to go, sometime you're not going to go here, but there will be times where you want to go here first, okay? There will be times where you want to go to this guy. So depending on different situations that you will fix. All right, developers. So it's pretty clear the developers write the code, and you are responsible for testing to make sure that it meets the criteria, okay? So now we go back to our original question. This will definitely is going to be helpful to answer this question, right? What is software testing? Because otherwise you would say, okay, he's saying this is important, that's it, right? So don't take my word for it. I'm going to try to explain more and more, and we're going to talk about it. And again, I'll take questions as soon as I finish this, and then I'm going to go into the next one and next one and next one, and then we will go into Shantav's topic. Okay. And again, these initial question, when nobody talks about it, you don't know it, but you'll think that, okay, maybe I know a little bit. Isn't it better to just clarify? If you know it, that's awesome, that's great. You can ask additional questions, but if you don't know it, and if you somewhat know it, then it'll be even clearer more for you. All right, with that said, you got the software testing. What is software testing? And software testing is when you create a checklist, when you basically create a list of things and say, hey, I want to check to make sure that the feature functionality, or even the part of the software is working properly. Now, how do you do that? Do you come up with the list? Who writes that list? That is gonna be you. You write the list. How do you write the list? Do you write it from your top of your head because you know Facebook, for example, or what do you do? Anybody want to answer that? Anybody may have taken class elsewhere before, or all right, 20 seconds. Anybody want to answer that, and then we're moving on. Like I said, I'm trying to make sure that it becomes interactive, so that way you guys are feeling free to communicate.
I think you get the checklist from developer.
So the checklist, you get it from developer, right? But then think about this way, developers are getting from who? Because they have to
Business
also
analyst.
build, right? So business analyst, and business analyst is not just saying, hey, I want you to build this. They are basically just there for assisting, helping. They're not to say, okay, I'm your boss, do this. There is no boss criteria here. Nobody's boss here, okay? So now business analyst will create the document in this or even that format, okay? These guys then look at this document. If they do have any question, they will reach back and clarify those. But if they don't have a question, then they will build it based on what they understand on the user story, okay? The description of the user story should be very much laying out what needs to be done. As a user, I would like to do this. If I'm logged in, I want to do this. If I have an account where I am not a person, I'm a business, I should be able to share my stories and things like that, right? I should be able to send people to like my page and things like that, right? So all of that will be included into the requirement. Now, the original question is that where do you go to create the list? You don't go to the developer, by the way, because think about this way. These guys are building it, right? If you ask them, hey, let's say developer, his name is John. Hey, John, you created this software. Is everything working? He's going to say, yes. Is there any bug? No, there is no bug. Okay. All right, so that's it. So then why do we need you here? You know, let's say you are friends with John very much. You guys go to lunch together, you guys meet up, your family, your wife, your kids, whatever, you guys are very much close to each other. Um, you know John is very smart. He writes code and you almost never find an issue. Okay. Is it fair to say that, okay, when John sends me something, I will not even test it, right? Do you trust him so much that you don't have to test it, right? So what I'm trying to say is that John, in his point of view, everything is working perfect is because it's harder. It's very, very hard to find our own mistake. And don't understand, I guess, don't underestimate that John is pretty much going to leave a bug in purpose, or he just didn't know, or maybe he's just he's not a good developer. That's why he's creating so much bug. It's not that. It's also because of the business rules and use cases, and also the functionality, because what John, his daily job is that he takes a small part of the application and then he focuses on that in order to build further to that application. Okay, so therefore he doesn't have exposure to the entire app. But who has exposure to entire app is QA engineer, QA tester, QA analyst. Okay,
Product
so
owner.
we and product owner as well, but we are the first person getting the new feature to test it before it goes to the product owner. Product owner is accepting. Once you test it, then they're going to say, okay, it's tested, let me see if I like it or not. Okay, let me see what if it meets my requirement, my criteria. But before that, we are the bottleneck. Anybody here don't understand bottleneck? That means we are the filter. Okay, we are there primarily to catch, okay, catch bugs and error. What is bug? Bug is anything that is not mentioned in this documents requirement. So John gives you the requirement, and you go in there and you test it and it looks awesome, it looks good. He creates some 3D effects and all that stuff, and you look at it and you say, wow, this is brilliant. But then it's not mentioned into your use case or user story, whichever document that you guys are using in your company. Is that a bug? How many will say is this the bug, or how many will say it's not a bug? And what you should do about it. I can also ask you the other way. The other way question is that you paid money to build a house. The builder builds it. One of your requirement was 2-bathroom, and now you see the bathroom, you wanted normal bathroom. Now each bathroom has pretty much high-end jacuzzi and all that stuff, right? The bathroom also has tiny aquarium where the fishes and all that stuff, right? Now you have to maintain it, you have to maintain the jacuzzi and all that stuff, right? Was that your requirement? No, right? Now if you send somebody, let's say independent inspector, and say, hey, these are the list of things that I wanted, can you go and check? He's going to come back and say, hey, there are problems. There is jacuzzi and there is basically a aquarium within those 2 bathrooms that you wanted it. I don't see anywhere it's mentioned that those 2 bathrooms are that should have those things. Do you really want it? So now in your case, you're the product owner, right? Because we want to build that house. And now you can choose and say, yeah, I didn't want it, but this is very good. Then we're good. Then it's not an issue. You basically clarified. Okay, you got an extra requirement, you got extra features. You have to go. This is something that you can immediately say, okay, this is a bug. If it's not on the requirement, it's a bug and you're valid, right? But then the developer will come and say, hey, this is not a bug, I created this feature. Go ahead and ask the product owner, maybe he will confirm. So you go and ask and say, hey, yeah, this is what happened, right? Product owner will say, okay, it's not mentioned, but we will accept that it's fine. This is an extra thing, but we are not there to define what the product should be. As a QA, we don't define the product. So keep in mind, we're not going to say, wow, this looks good, and we're going to accept it. We're not going to accept less or more. We're going to accept exactly how it is mentioned. Okay, that's why I said you cannot be too optimistic. Anything that you test, you should already assume there is issues. You should already assume that there will be issues. Okay. Anybody, any kind of requirement you're testing, okay, there must be an issue. If you don't find it, test it again. There must be some sort of issue. But if it's not there, that's fine. But it's safer to assume there will be issues. So let's not be too optimistic. The other thing about our role is that when we do the testing, nobody knows how long it's going to take, right? And the other piece of that is that when we do the testing, nobody can rush us. And they know that. Product manager knows, product owner knows, business analyst knows, even developers, they know. We cannot be rushed, okay? So if you need to push back and say, hey, this basically requires for me to take this much extra time to do testing, then yes, you can push back. All right, so now software testing is basically when you create a list of checklist, right? And those checklists we call test, okay? Scenarios, right? And then we got test cases, and we'll definitely talk about these documents because, you know, we have to know this. These are our thing, right? These are the documents that we create. So we have to know them very, very well. For today, you know, we're just going to touch base. We're not going to go deeper, but test scenario is basically you are saying how many ways a user can interact with that, you know, function or feature of the application. For example, creating, adding a new friend. What if somebody's account was deleted and they want to add a new friend? Can they log in and be able to add a new friend right away? What if their account was restricted and can they log in and do it? So all of the scenarios you will have to list, okay? Then we got the test cases. Test cases is nothing but taking the scenario and providing additional information in step-by-step process, okay? So you're gonna write a step-by-step process on how to do the testing, and test case is the end product for us because we use that to later test after a year, even after a month, after 1 week, after 2 days. The reason is that we will be repeating the test cases, we'll be repeating to execute tests, and therefore this document is necessary. So any question around software testing? It's pretty, I mean, it's pretty easy, but again, I just wanted to make sure that at least from our point of view, what software testing is. Software testing is basically to make sure that the product doesn't have bug. I'll mention also this, we call defect as well, right? Bug, defect, error. Okay, so you are just making sure none of these are there. Now, if I say nothing, if it's not mentioned on this document, that means it's a defect or bug, right? You can classify that based on the situation, right? Any question for this specific topic before we move on to the next?
So
All right.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So basically the team, whatever you explained at this moment, so our role as a newcomer is going to be the QA tester, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So this is who you are right here. Okay, so now, again, like I said, your title goes based on what the company provides you with, right? Because sometimes you'll see that sometimes your title is QA engineer, your title is analyst, and you may say, whoa, did I just downgrade myself from QA engineer to analyst when you join a new company after the first? No, it's just that the way that the company classifies the HR, they decide based on different tech tools and everything that you use for your role in that company. So everything is specific to the company and role and the team. All right, let's go into the next, because this is a very, very hot topic.
I have one question.
Topic. Go for it. Yeah.
So basically, we don't get any checklist from developer or anybody else. So we basically make our own checklist, something like that, to test the product.
You create your checklist based on these documents.
Okay.
So we read this document. Yeah.
Okay.
We read this document and we understand what the product owner and business wants, right? And then we create it. And obviously, developers are the last person who touch the part of the software that we want to test. So you guys can ask the question, but remember, developers in QA, we do not define what the product should be. We don't know why this piece of functionality or feature will make money for the company. Who decides that is going to be product owner, and they work with other intelligent department, or that could be data scientists who did their extensive research and say, okay, if we add this part of the feature within our application, it will increase this much revenue. Okay, so they do their product research, you know, and they work with other counterparts within the department. And then they said, okay, we want this and we want that. Sometimes it comes directly from above, like CTOs, you know, even CEO, let's say he goes to a conference, and then now there are a lot of suggestion comes back, and the CEO says, I want this to be implemented immediately. Okay. Now it goes to CTO then says, hey, we want this ASAP. The CEO wants to see it by tomorrow, right? So it really, really depends where it comes from, but we do not, because remember, as a QA tester, if we basically defined what the product was, then they didn't need these guys right here, right? So we just there to make sure that they're getting what they want. They're getting what they want by looking at the requirement. And it's good, right? Because this is independent. Now, one of the leading question could be, like you could have asked, is that, okay, developers, they wrote the code, they're smarter than us, or maybe they do way harder work, for example. How come they didn't do the testing? They build it. It's going to be easier if they just do the testing, right? It's because, remember, you don't find your own mistake. When you create a piece of art and that's your baby, you're never going to find the flaws, right? You're never going to find that issue. They need an independent person to come in and say, hey, these are the issues, okay? And that's who we are. We do not, even though we go lunch with John, we go and hang out with John and his family and all that. End of the day, you will find issues and send it to him and say, hey, can you fix this? We're not screwing him, we're actually helping him. Okay, we're helping him to be better, so next time he doesn't make the similar mistakes. So over time, what you will see when you join a company, and let's say you are the first QA ever, okay, you will see the developers' behavior changes, their quality of work changes, is because you keep finding the issue and you not letting go unless they fix those issues. So their behavior change, because now they do their some of the testing they do themselves to find the initial smaller issues. So think about this way: why do you want developers to do testing? Because our role is to do the testing. You may ask, right? We want developers to test because we want to make sure that the smaller obvious issues doesn't come to us. Okay, obvious issues, they can see it themselves and then they should be able to fix it and then send it to us. We want to find those issues that are very hard to find. It's basically something that will not be noticeable so easily. And then the other question could be that those smaller issues, okay, that's a job security for us, right? Let them send us the smaller issues, we'll find it and send it to them. The problem with that is now you are going back and forth. Let's say 3 small issues. That's going to be 3 times. The first time you find one and you send it back, fixes and he sends you back. You do the retesting of the whole thing. Okay, you have to test the whole thing. You cannot just test a small part. Now, let's say the whole thing takes 3 days for you to test it. Now, every time you find an issue, you're going to spend 3 days. That's a lot of, you know, that's not a good use of your time. Okay, so what the project manager or your manager, by the way, QA has a different hierarchy. It could be QA manager, QA lead, QA director. So different roles. What they want to see, what the product manager want to see, sorry, project manager want to see, is that how many times there is a back and forth here. Okay, if they see, let's say John, for example, and there are other developers also. For some reason, all the developers, it only takes 1 try, 1 issues, fix it, and it goes to done. Okay. But for John, it's always 3, 4, and 5 times. Okay. Is it safer to assume that John doesn't even read these things properly? Is it safer to assume that John doesn't do a little bit of testing from his side? Yes, it is safer to assume. In that case, his manager is going to probably talk to him and say, hey, I'm looking at the, you know, metrics. I'm looking at this data, and I see that, you know, it always fails for you like 3 times, 4 times. We understand once or twice. But, you know, that's causes a lot of time to be used by QA. Do you want to spend more time reading the requirement before you implement, right? Before you actually go and write code? And that's what this is just to help John, to make him better. Okay. So as a QA, our work really helps these guys initially, and then it helps the user. Now you may say, okay, so we just only go with the document. That's it. That's about it. No. There are a little bit more. When you are SME, and I will tell you what SME means. When you become a subject matter expert. So for example, let's say you're working in the company for a year and two, and you know absolutely about everything about the product, then you are the subject matter expert. Okay. So at this point, you are the subject matter expert. You know the product, you know in and out, you know what the user wants. Now, if John develops something and it's really, you feel like iffy, like, oh no, this is going to be horrible. You know what? This is worse than what we had before. As an SME, as a QA tester, you can suggest, you can say, hey, John, look, this is really something that I don't want. I feel like this is going to be giving our users hard time, and let's talk about it. So now you set up a meeting with this guy and this guy and this guy, and you explain to them, this is how currently it looks like, and it's working fine. With the new changes that John has made, this is making 10 times harder for our users. And I don't think I want that, right? So you go ahead and express your feelings, and these guys will back you up, probably. Most likely they will back you up, or they will explain to you why they want such a thing. And we go from there. So you will be providing your expert opinion when it comes about looking at the feature and making it better for the user, okay? And so that opinion is different. You're not going to create a bug, okay? You're not going to create a defect. You're not going to create a error or kind of error log or anything like that. You will set up a meeting, you will discuss, and then they will then tell you like, hey, create a bug, and then you'll create a bug. And we'll talk about what bug is and how to create them in the future class. Today's is just to make sure that you understand what it is that you're jumping into and why QA gonna be an easy way to get into IT, right? I don't want to scare you guys, right? As long as you are willing to put the time and a little bit of effort, within 6 months, you will be an expert in QA, okay? And there are instances where I know that people work for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, right? And they end up not knowing a lot of things, right? I work with people in the past where all they did is work in one company for 6 years, and they have no idea what existed outside of the company, right? So they don't know the tools and technology that we will be teaching you in the future classes, okay? Now let's talk about the hot topic, right? This is why everybody's here, right? It's not always about, oh, I like you, I want to be there, right? Nobody.
Joel bhai,
Yes.
you probably need your laptop charger on.
Oh yeah. Is it dying? Oh, goodness. Okay. Didn't even notice. So much into this, right? 1 second. All right, got it. Thank you, Shantarai. Appreciate it. All right. It's because I have a banner right here which hides my top part of the laptop, so I couldn't see. All right, so thank you. And now this is a hot topic because I also consider that as very important, right? At the end of the day, everybody wants to have a quality life by making money. So that way they don't have to do 2 jobs. They don't have to do 3 jobs, or they don't have to basically work beyond 8 hours and pretty much go and have a good life, right? And now this is where I'm gonna be talking about some things that you may really like it, right? And what is the testing and why is it important and why you pay 80 to 150K. By the way, just so you know, our students, when they go out there for looking for a job, I tell them not a penny less than 95K. Okay, that's it. That's what I tell them. But we, just to be safe, we do 80 because there are instances where companies, they don't want to go beyond 80 because it's a full-time job, right? They have a HR that determines what the salary should be, but we don't take less than 95. Okay. We also do hourly contract rate. We don't take less than $55 an hour, period. And I'll tell you, if they call you, just tell them like 55 or we're not talking, right? And there's a reason for it. Think about this way: the cheaper the rate, the more hard time you get. Okay. If you want to sell your product for cheaper, you'll see people are bargaining more, right? You go to Jackson Heights, you go to Hillside, and let's say you're selling cheaper, like you're selling like something, right? Like cloth or whatever. And Now people are coming and they're bargaining. Oh, $5. Can you do it for 3? Yeah, that's the problem. If you put yourself, like, let's say that same product, $80, and there is a tag and you don't even talk about anything. No, there is no discussion about price. They buy it or they don't buy it. It's okay, right? And that's the same situation. You will see Indian companies trying to negotiate with you. Can you do 75? Can you do 80? And you're gonna say, no, actually, currently I'm making 95. So it doesn't make sense for me to, like, go less than that. So do you want to do 95? Then we can move forward. Otherwise, good luck to you finding the candidate, right? And I'll tell you why this is such important here. So now, why is it software testing important? Because remember, if you don't like it, you can be it, or you can actually sell it. You cannot sell it. Software testing, why is it important? And this is going to come from me personally, because I've been to every possible role you can think about in here, right? I was a developer for a short period of time. I went back into QA. So I started my journey as a QA. Then I went back into QAs because I just love the role, right? Right now, my role is QA solution architect. So I just don't provide testing. I don't do testing. I actually enable people like you who joins the company, them how to do testing, as well as the product, tool, and process. These are the things that I work on and create. So pretty much, why is it such important to do software testing? So there are a few examples that I can give you to kind of give you a sense that why this is an important topic. Is because, let's say you are a company, right? Let's say you're a car manufacturer. Let's say you're Tesla, for example, and you want to release a new vehicle to the market, and you don't do testing of it, right? You're releasing the new product, but you don't do the testing of it. Now, all of a sudden, people are dying everywhere. All of a sudden, the car exploding, while it hitting, let's say, 50 miles per hour. Your company is dismissed. Your company is gone. People will be scared to hear about your company. Okay, you are out of business forever. And that is because why have this taken place? Now your company not only is being dissolved, but also you have to pay the price. You have to go to jail. Like, if you're the CEO, you will probably go to jail, right? Now, obviously, that is the worst case, right? There are other cases. For example, China Airlines, back in the days, I think A300 in 1994 killed 264 people, right? And that is a software bug. So you work for, let's say, GE Aviation, you work for Boeing or any other airplane manufacturer, and when you do that testing, you better be detail oriented. You better be paying attention, and you better make sure that somebody else also tested. So that way you don't put your name and say, I'm certifying. I'm saying that this works. Okay. We basically certify, right? We basically say, okay, it's working, and I guarantee, right? So you better make sure that at least not only you, somebody else also look at it and find that issue, because if it is such an important thing, you want to make sure that not only you, somebody else also look at it. So that's why product owner also, they look at it and as a second set of eyes sometimes. But I would always, if that is the case, I work for GE Aviation, then I will say, look, I tested already, it looks good. I want, let's say, my coworker who's also a QA, and his name is, let's say, Raj. I will say, hey, I want also Raj to do a second round of testing. This is for a sanity check, because this is such an important piece of software, and this function will affect everything. So I want to make sure that he also do his side, so that way we're all confident before we go about certifying it. Okay. So again, we're talking about 264 people got killed, or at least lost their lives, just because they couldn't afford a QA. Now that China Airlines, I can tell you this much, they went through financial hardship. They went through a lot of backlash from media or the country itself, just because they couldn't afford a QA. Seriously. Now if they paying you, let's say, I'm going to increase the salary a little bit. Let's say if they were paying a QA for $200,000 and that person did the testing and saved those 264 lives, that's nothing. That is compared to that, it's actually nothing. Okay. So I hope you understand how important this role is. The other part is that a company can literally go out of business, and I think that's what happened with the airlines at that time, until maybe they got rescued by something. Now, there were other incidents that had similar effect in terms of losing billions of dollars, right? So software bugs, failure that caused 1.2 billion military satellites, right? And also there were, I believe, there were, Bank of America had a glitch just like that, right? Where you go in and you deposit $1, it becomes 2. You deposit $1, it becomes 2. And it's because maybe somebody forgot to test that part of the thing. I'm sure they had a QA guy there, right? And so within hours, I think it was enabled for 2 hours or something, 2 or 3 hours. I got to go back to that article. And what happened is that within that 2 hours, billions of dollars were already withdrawn, meaning somebody would put $1,000, 2,000, boom, out. They now have $2,000 and they take it out. And similar to that, people started putting more and more and more. The more people found out about this, the more people started putting those money and taking it right out. Okay. Obviously, billions of dollars were lost. And that is for what? They couldn't afford one more QA for $80,000, or they couldn't afford a QA for $200,000. So trust me, money is not even a concern for hiring a QA tester in a software industry. Money is not the primary subject. Oh, we don't have the budget. Oh, we don't have the money. No. That is never going to be the case. They do have the budget, and it's just that, they may have other reasons, like, okay, we want to have 3 people, we want to have 4 people, and they always go extra with QA. They always hire extra. And this is the reason. One of the misconceptions that I'm going to answer is that they overhire people, meaning now they hire 6, they needed 3, they hire 6. What the 3 people is going to do? Now your job is like 1 hour per day, 2 hours per day. If you did, let's say, 2 hours per day and you're done, and you got the rest of your day to go out and hang out and, have a good life. That's why it becomes less stress, is because it's not just 2 hours a job. Is because you are given one piece, one small thing to test and to make sure that it's working, and you're good. And then you move on to the next thing, and you move on to the next thing. And hopefully you guys understood why this is important, right? So far, you guys gonna be fine, right? Anything that I want to clarify here? Why would the company pay this much money, right? We already got it. So I don't want to also give you guys misinformation. For example, I said 2 hours, right? This is just an example. Okay, your company can have like literally 8 hours of work. I'm just saying that if the company overhires and now you have 2 hours of work or something, and this is safer for the company to do it, right? This is safer to hire more people than less, especially in QA. Okay, developers, they're important. They're like soldiers. They're the frontline soldiers. They go out there and they do their thing, but we are pretty much overseeing them. You can think of you as like their filters. Whatever they produce, we first consume them. We understand what they are. We then verify if they're working properly, and then we let it go, and then we release, right? We don't go beyond. They can't really pass us. Basically, their work has to go through us. That's it. So we're kind of managing their work at this point. We're kind of finding issues, but we don't want to act like they're managers. Okay, this is part of the team. One of the beautiful thing working in a software team is that everybody is a team member. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody is respected as much as everybody else. Okay, and that's the beauty of it. That's why you'll see that software testers, software QA engineer, software QA analyst, software managers, QA managers, QA director, they're very calm. They don't have that thing like, oh, I have to get that overtime, or you know what, somebody's taking my overtime, or you know what, I'm not getting paid as much as the other. It's not the case. Everybody's getting paid whether they do the work or they don't do the work, right? So nobody's going to say, oh, you took my job, you know what, you took my task. I'm sure I should be doing that task. If somebody took it, oh, great, all right, thanks for helping, you know. Now, sometimes we do miss issues, right? We didn't find the issue for some reason, and now this guy found it. Then you just thank them, like, hey, it's great you caught it. You know, let's say for David is the product owner here, and he's like, hey, David, thanks a lot, you caught it. I don't know how I missed it, but I will make sure that in the future it doesn't happen. Thanks. Done. You own your issues, like you own your mistakes. You know, that shouldn't even be there, right? David should not find issues because you are the filter, right? You shouldn't let go any of this. So we just learned about why software testing is important, right? One is that financial hardship a company can get. The other thing is the compliance, right? Many companies nowadays, especially US, right? And I'll talk about other countries, but in US, in order for a software company to be able to sell, many of their investors will say, how many QA do you have? Okay, was this feature tested? And they will do audit. Okay, those investors will have independent company coming into the company, looking into each and every single story and do the auditing. Okay, if a story misses, let's say a story right here, and you as a QA supposed to confirm that this story was tested by writing a comment, for example, right? So you didn't write the comment for whatever reason, that auditor is going to fail it. This feature was not tested, period. You know, if it was tested, where is the comment? Where is the evidence? Where is the test cases, right? So it's always going to be like binary, either is or isn't. Is it a bug or is it not a bug, right? Is it failed or is it passed, right? So just think about this way. Now this company, the software company, has no choice to hire you as a QA, okay? And that's what you want to hear. Now, you may say, oh, what if I want to become a project manager? I want to become a product owner. I want to become a business analyst. I want to become a developer. These are the roles where you basically in the hot seat. This is the role where we just wait for the people to do their work, and then we find we're the critic, right? We're the critic, so we just find the issues. Isn't it easier to find simple issue? You know, and you don't have to fix it. You just find it and then send it over. Like, hey, look, this is the issue that I found. Can you fix that? That's it. That's all you have to do. This is your job. That's it. Nothing else. That's the only thing we have to focus. And we find the issue, we send it, and these people go ahead and fix it for you. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, if you want to become a developer, and we also as a company take care of developers, meaning we provide jobs in development, right? Now, the thing is with the development is that you have to be absolutely a good coder, right? And there are, over the last 7-8 years, I met a lot of people with computer science background where they invested their personal time, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and they know how to code. And I can tell by talking to them for 5 minutes. And those people, I help them getting a entry-level developer job, not even somebody with experience. And pretty much I work with them as well. We also work with business analysts, but I don't recommend unless you are somebody who is a people person, right? Who knows how to talk, who knows how to sweet talk to everybody. But then business analysts also have some technical side, which, you know, you have to use some tools to write these documents, and you have to be able to communicate very fluidly with the upper management. It could be a product owner, product manager. But QA tester is probably the sweet spot, the right kind of role for you to say, I want to be in IT. And the QA tester is the only role I know in this team or in a software engineering team, is that you don't have to be highly technical. Okay, you got to be dedicated. You have to be detail oriented, right? And you have to take ownership, and you can still be a good QA. You can still leave a good impression from your team where they will be proud of you. They will thank you for your work. Okay. You don't have to be, oh, I know how to code. I know how to do algorithms. I know how to create this and that or this function. You don't have to be that person. And that's why it's such an easy way to get in. Okay, so a lot of people are doing this in New York, especially Texas. I know that there are other states where people having to do these crash courses and being able to become a QA professional. But there are always a catch, right? You need to be able to absorb the material that we'll provide. All this time, that's 4 months, whatever, we cramped information of maybe 5 years to 6 years worth of information into the 4 months. And you may say, well, wait a minute, you guys are not like doing magic to do the cramping. No, we don't do the magic. Is because when you join a company, all you do the same thing every day. So instead of doing same thing every day here, you're going to be doing something different every day, learning different tools. And that's why we can confidently say that you will have at least 5 years worth of experience at a bare minimum if you really listen to us and do the homework. All right, so we talked about these two topics real quick, and then now benefit of software testing. I think we already covered that. The benefit of software testing for any company and industry is that the software is really refined. There will be issues, there will be situations where they haven't even thought about, where QA comes back and say, hey, this is what I found, this is what's the problem is, and we fix it. I'll give you a real life example. What happens is this company that I was working for, and we're basically doing loan servicing and creating loans and stuff, and we were testing it. At that time, I hired somebody fresh, right? And I'm not gonna say names or anything. And that person, I said, hey, did you do all the testing? I gave him some task and I said, okay, go and test and let me know. Okay, he goes and he looked very confused. He came back. I said, okay, it's end of the day. I said, did you finish? Everything works? Yes, everything works. Okay, good. Everything works. I said, all right, great. Okay, good. Update the documents. He goes and update documents and everything. Said, okay, we tested. We got the sign off from CTO. CTO signed it off, and then we go for a release, right? So end of the day, we released it. Everything is good. Next day, we went to work, 9 a.m. Underwriters for that loan company can't even like do anything on their side, right? They logged in and they can't do anything. They're not even able to service loans or create new loans or whatever. Now the whole underwriting team took a day off, right? In the meantime, we're trying to find out what's the issue. Then I go back to the person. I was like, hey, did you test it? What's going on? You know, how come this issue just slept? Did you not like look at it? He is super confused. He's looked scared and everything, right? And then I'm like, okay. Then I put him to the side. I said, listen, as a QA, we should never ever say it's okay, it's working if you never touch it. If you didn't test it, you could have let me know and we could have deferred the release by 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever we need, right? Now that day, the company lost money in salary, right? Because this was an internal application. This is not for public. This was used by their own employees, and now everybody got a day off for free, you know, and the company had to pay them. So this is just a simple example, like what is the benefit of software testing is because the company saves money ultimately, okay? Save money and time ultimately. All right, testing in software engineering, right? Again, where do we fall? What is the hierarchy? When exactly do we do the testing? I will ask that question to you guys, give you guys 20 seconds, and then come back to me, and then anything that you have in your mind, like this is just to, again, engage you guys into the conversation, and then we will then go ahead and cover this topic. So 20 seconds starts now. If you want to provide your thoughts, testing, you know, basically, when do we do the testing?
I think after the developer complete the like the product.
So after coding is done, right?
Uh-huh.
Let's see, coding, and then we go for QA. What happens before coding?
Design,
right? And then what happens even before that?
research, right? Requirement research.
Requirement gathering. We got design, code, QA. QA is basically we'll say test. Okay, so just you guys know that test. And then what happens after testing?
Release,
Anybody know? You tested already. What do you do after that?
like release the product.
Release the program.
Release. Okay. What happens after the release? This is a very important topic, and I'll explain why that is important.
Goes to the owner.
No, so owner should be part of the test, right? Because
Okay,
it shouldn't
okay.
even pass. Yeah. Like once you finish testing your side as a QA, you then ask the product owner, hey, can you take a look and tell me if it's good? And then it becomes ready for release. Once the ready for release is done, then it goes for releasing. I just cramped everything into, let's say, testing.
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
Start
perfect.
using.
Maintenance. Okay. Obviously, after the release, anybody can use, right? Whoever is the end user. Okay. How many people know what end user is? So Facebook is an application for open public. Who's the end user? Are you the end user or the customer service who handles Facebook's problems and things like that? They're the end user. Who's the end user here?
Us.
We are the, yeah.
So every software has end user, right? So for example, Facebook is basically end user is general public. Whoever uses the software to do whatever they want to do, right? The intended activities, right? So general public is gonna be the end user for software for Facebook. Now let's say Chase Bank created Teller app, Teller app website or whatever. Teller logs in, and now they're able to service their customers. So when you go to the Teller, where do you go? Because you couldn't withdraw more than $1,000. So now Teller is able to do that. They need their information, your information, you swipe the card, and now they're able to do that. So in this case, who's the end user for Teller website? Oops, what's the, oh, Siri. So who? Is it
Teller.
you? Is it you?
Can you try again?
Oh, sorry, my Siri is going off. 1 second, guys. All right. So again, the question is, you go to the teller and you say, hey, I want 2,000, and then teller is using the website to give you the $2,000 because you couldn't withdraw from the ATM more than 1,000. In this case, who's the end user?
Customer.
Teller
Customer.
or the customer is end user?
Yeah. I
But the
believe
keyword
so.
is, I said teller used it.
The teller. The teller is
Exactly.
the end
Teller,
user.
right? Exactly. So because the customer, if they had access to the teller website, that's a problem. That's a huge problem for the, you know, for the company, because if I had access to the teller system, I can go and put myself a few extra zeros on my account, you know? I will. Mute myself. Okay, sorry. So guys, I know it's sometimes unavoidable when you have background noise, not a problem. Just make sure that after question you mute it immediately, so that way we can answer and everybody can hear. So in this case, teller is the end user. Whoever actually uses the application is end user. So sometimes you will see that internal application and external. The difference between internal application is that teller application is internal, is because it is used by his own employee, and external is Facebook. It is by anybody. I can go and create a Facebook right now and start using it. So that's the difference. So now we're going into, after the release, anybody can use the software. That's the thing. After the release, it doesn't happen after maintenance. Maintenance on the other side, maintenance is when we look into this feature, the new feature, and we update them time to time, or we add new and new and new features to the existing one. So we basically try to stay updated. When Facebook integrated Instagram within the Facebook, that is maintenance, right? That could be initially, that could be part of the feature. Maybe they added a new feature, but then later when they add new functionality where you can actually share your story from Facebook to Instagram, Instagram to Facebook, whatever they made the connection to or integration to, that means that, you know, they just maintained it. Okay. So if Facebook in the future allows you to log in using your Twitter account, that will be additional feature. But then if later Facebook comes in and say, hey, the Twitter, people can log in with using Twitter, but then they need to see their tweets also on Facebook, that will be maintenance. They will add more and more and more to the exact same feature and functionality. So maintenance includes both, right? Coming in and updating the existing software to make sure that it meets the quality standard, or it meets the current today's date standard, right? If Face is basically, let's say, Twitter is such a big thing now, and obviously they want to integrate, they collaborate with Twitter, and they will want to add that to Facebook, and that will be maintaining the software by making it sure that it is up to date as always. The other thing is that a software is basically never going to go on idle. Like, okay, it's done, it's basically finished building, and we don't have to do anything, right? It's never the case, and that's why we have such a good job security, is because they will maintain the software even after it's finished. They will basically maintain it, meaning they either add new feature or they either work on existing feature and say, okay, things has changed, user do not like this, we want to remove that, and we want to create something new. We want to do something that that will be pleasing to the user. Okay, so that is. Now, whatever I wrote here, right? Requirement, design, coding, testing, release. Requirement is, again, business analysts. They will do the requirement gathering along with the product owner. Design is done by graphical UI designer, and then coding is done by developer. QA testing is done by any of us, right? Which is QA analyst, QA engineer, QA tester. And then release is done by CMT, configuration management team, or your DevOps. But then we are there to assist, because we want to make sure the release went smooth, and we will be doing post-release testing, meaning after the release is done, we go in and we check to make sure everything is correct. And then maintenance is, again, goes through the requirement and design. In order to maintain, requirement has to come through first. Okay, so that's why we're gonna be giving them a name as SDLC, which is a huge topic. We're not going to talk about it today, but this is kind of like an HDLC situation here. Then types of testing. You may say, okay, what are the testing? Now, do I just go in and do the testing and that's it, right? There are few testing types that I'd like to talk about today. One is manual testing, and the other one is automation testing. At least what you'll be learning here in this course. And there are testing type itself, but in this case, we're talking about pretty much what kind of tool you're using for testing, right? But then also the other type of testing is that you have smoke, you have functional, you have regression, and you have few other, right? We got the ad hoc testing, right? Okay, I forgot the spelling of that, but I'll put it like this for now. All right, so I think it's ED, yeah, ad hoc or something. No, ad hoc, yeah, that's fine. Okay, now we'll talk about this in our later course where we go in depth, right? For the time being, I think my time is almost over, and I'm taking extra from Shantabai, but I'm just gonna cover this, and then I'm gonna have him come in and do his part. So types of testing, which is manual or automation, right? And there are basically, like, think about this way: you hire an army, you hire basically 50 people, have them sit down on one floor of your building and tell them to go into the part of the application. Everybody gets an assignment, meaning like, okay, you go to the profile page, you go to the friend list page, and this and that, right? Each person gets a task, and they go in there and they verify that software works as intended, right? As it should, by looking at the requirement. So now these army of people, army of QA guys, they're going in there and doing all this testing. These are called manual testing. They do it themselves. They're a human being. They go in there, they check, they click, and then they see what it is that the system is responding based on their actions. That is called manual testing. Automation testing doesn't need an army. The reason, the whole purpose of automation testing is because we want to get rid of the army, right? We don't want these people we don't want the company to spend 50, we want to be more efficient, right? Even though the company has money, we don't want to have 50 employees where the payroll has to be maintained, where they have to be getting paid and all that stuff. We want to reduce cost, but we don't want to reduce the quality. We don't want to basically compromise on testing, but we do want to reduce cost. And that's when automation comes in. Automation is, the whole purpose is that if you have a test that you do over and over and over again, if you have a test that you test, let's say, every day to make sure the application is fine. Let's say the first thing you wake up in the morning, your boss says, hey, is this and this working? Can you check this list to make sure always these things are working? you automate them. So then in the morning you wake up, you get a nice report saying everything is working. You don't have to do anything. The computer do it for you. So repeated testing, something that you test again and again, makes sense to be automated, right? Because manual testing, we shouldn't replace them. We should be able to make them more efficient. So that way they don't end up getting a lot of work. Now, automation is basically when you create code, when you write code, and when you tell the code to do something for you. For example, you wrote piece of code that took over your browser. Let's say you wrote some code that basically, if you really think about it, it's gonna probably sounds funny to you. You wrote code that possessed the Safari browser on your computer, and now the Safari browser will do everything you say. Think about this way. Okay, you took full control of Safari browser by writing some code, and now you're saying, Safari, can you go to facebook.com? And it does. Safari, can you log in using username this and username and password this? And it does. Safari, can you check if I was able to successfully log in? And it does. I am just describing to you automation testing just now. Okay, so automation is nothing but we take full control of a browser, and we tell the browser, please do this for us in code. Now browser needs to understand your command. Okay, in order for the browser to understand your command, we talk their language. One of the way the browser understands is that if we talk to the driver directly. So now every company that comes up with a driver as a browser, for example, Chrome, Google wrote Chrome, right? Google is the one who developed Chrome, right? Google also developed a driver for Chrome. So that way people like us, people like automation people, right? QA engineers can automate. We can take full control of this Chrome browser, okay? They provide a way to control. So now, why would Google do this? Is because then nobody will use Chrome if they cannot test. So for example, I'm a company, if I cannot use, let's say, Chrome to do the testing, especially automation, then my product is not tested in Chrome. Therefore, I will recommend all my users to use Safari. And I'm going to say, for the best experience, use Safari, okay? And now Chrome is losing business. So it's their best interest to create those drivers. And we take those drivers, we tell them exactly what to do, and we do it with different languages. Now we're talking about language, for example, Java. We're talking about Ruby. We're talking about Python. We're talking about JavaScript. Here, we're going to be teaching you guys Java because it's one of the hot language. Everybody wants people to know Java and things like that. So, and there are more jobs in Java. Not that we don't want to teach you JavaScript and Ruby, and the easiest language here is Ruby, and then the other one would be like even JavaScript is pretty fairly easy. But the harder probably one would be Java. But if you know the harder, then you know the easy one. It's like learning one language and being able to translate to the other language. It doesn't take longer if you know one language. So that's why we'll try to focus on Java, but then we will also probably go into JavaScript because it is very similar to Java. So that is automation. Any question on automation? Do you kind of understand? I try to break it down based on like as basic as possible, right? What automation is, right? You're basically taking control of this browser and telling it exactly what to do, and it does it for you. Okay, that's the simplest way that you can think of. And then we talk about smoke functional regression. These are different type of testing. We'll not cover it today. I feel like I'm taking too much time from Shantabai. Today's class and tomorrow's class, we just want to make sure that you have everything you need in terms of information to say this is the journey that I would like to take. Okay, I know some people are already committed and they already told us that we would like to do the whole thing, but no, I want to make sure that you are confident first. Okay, I want to make sure that you know that how important this role is and how you could be proud of saying I am a software QA engineer. By the way, the other thing is when you say QA engineer, nobody understands outside world, so just say software engineer. It's the same thing, because why? Developers, they write code for the application. We write code for the testing of the application. But if you write code, that means you are a developer, right? You are an engineer. You write something from scratch, you are a engineer. If you write manual test cases from scratch, you are an engineer. This test case was never there, right? You didn't copy and paste it. You are a engineer. You're basically designing tests. So either way, it's really how you present it. But you can be saying, oh, this is everybody does it in New York City. I'm just doing testing. You have to make sure that you emphasize who you are, right? As a and what kind of profession that you're in. And you have to be proud of that, because this is something is significant for the company. We don't take it lightly. A company doesn't take it lightly. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend all this money to hire you. And they also do further training. The first 2 months is just going to be training anyway, right? You don't do much on the first 2 months when you join a company. All right. So any question? I'm going to be handing this over to Shantabhai, and he will be doing his topics today. And we may take a small break. Shantabhai, do you think we need a break?
So Joel bhai, thank you for explaining a lot of stuff. So I know for many of you, this is little overwhelming. So our class is actually 1.5 hours. So it is almost over. Time is almost over, but I will take maybe 15 minutes. I want to go back a little bit and explain the class structure as like a day-to-day class structure and everything, rules, regulation, a little bit. I want to share my screen. Joel, if anybody has any question, you can answer. So
Yeah.
I can continue my stuff maybe next class. We also have another free session where I will be explaining all the other stuff.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing. You can
Okay.
start sharing.
So everybody can hear me, right? Okay, thank you. So I will share my screen.
Just to interrupt you for a second, I think I didn't clarify one thing, which is why this class is in English, right? We speak also Bengali and all, right? But the thing is that when you go to work, you'll be speaking English. So this is also a good way for you to
they're gonna end up saying whatever they want.
learning.
And if they do, and you overwrites what I'm saying, then
You're gonna
so I'll probably.
A lot of people are talking.
Hold on. I think it's Socrates. Socrates, mute yourself. All right. So
Stuff is. It doesn't.
Okay, I muted him. All right. So guys, just want to I'm just gonna take a minute to acknowledge something, so that way Shantabhai can move and continue one in the class. And number one thing here is that many of you guys probably expected, okay, these guys will probably cover it more easy way in a specific language. They will probably talk in Bengali, because some of you guys came from AVCH, and that's a Bengali community. So one thing that I want to say is the reason why we do it in English is because when you go to work, you don't do it in any other language but English. And the other thing is that this will be a good way for you to get more exposure if you are not the person, and also not if you're not the person who's used to English, then this will be a great exposure for you to get yourself going. But also, if you are, obviously if you didn't expect that, then that's fine, that doesn't apply to you. But anybody that felt oh, okay, this was going to be easy because I will understand on my own language and things like that, just know that if it's a little bit discomfort for you, that's fine. Things will get only better, right? Because you'll get used to us talking to you, and in the future you'll see more interaction between us. And class structure is something that Shantabhai is going to cover. So guys, thank you for today's, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. And Shantabhai, you can start. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Joel bhai. It was great explanation and summarizing next 4 months. So anyone is little afraid or feeling overwhelming, I'm just telling that this will be covered next 4 months. Joel bhai kind of summarized overall stuff you need before getting the job. So a lot of stuff, but if you work hard, if you give your 100%, as we said earlier also, we will be giving our 100%, and we can kind of guarantee that by successfully doing that, you'll be getting your job, that job you are looking for. Anyway, so I'm going a little back because Joel Bhai kind of covered middle part. So today is, okay, our time is kind of over, but I just need maybe 5-6 seconds, not second, 5-6 minutes for rest of the part. So for first 2 class, right, it is a free for everybody, and we are not doing daily stand-up. Daily stand-up we will start once everybody will be committed and they will be part of our student, and then we'll start from 3rd class, right, daily stand-up, and then we'll be taking questions if anybody has any question from the previous class, need clarification, and then we'll go to our topic by topic and explain with details, sometimes real life experience details, examples from our work experience that will help you also. And all of this topic, right, those are very big topic, right? You need couple of classes. End of the day, next 4 months, actually SDLC, as Joel Bhai said, this is a big topic, right? You will be doing SDLC. If you are a QA, you are just doing SDLC in your career. So a couple of things I want to mention going forward. Try to log in from your laptop, right? I know many of you just use your phone. Phone screen is very small. I found if you log in from laptop, your concentration and understanding will be much, much better. You will understand actually more because you are giving your more, like your concentration is there for the screen, right? Big screen. Also, I saw several students when you logged in, you did not provide your name, something like iPhone 12, iPhone 13, this type of name. Try to give the proper name so that we can sometimes ask you question for conversation. Sometimes we'll be doing class activities, right? So that we can just call you using right name or title. So this is some of these. So our class, right? So I will be providing next class invite, and I will be starting probably next class from the beginning where Joel Bhai ended, right? Since today's class time is over, I don't want to start and just do a little bit and stop. So I need kind of more than hour actually to explain some of this topic for next class. Also, anybody signed up, right, to our form, I will share the meeting recording from today so that if you miss any part, maybe you went to bathroom or anywhere or went for coffee, missed some important part, so you can come back and watch this video again. Sometimes you are late, right? So you join late, so you can watch from the beginning. So if you want the video, please sign up to our form, registration form, so that I can send you to your email. Other than that, on the screen, you are, whatever you see, right? This is our class outline, right? Every day, for example, most of the classes will have some kind of notes, right? I will be distributing the notes, means class summary. At the same time, you will have the videos also, so that you can use both of them. And in the future, right, when you are our student, we will provide you access for Udemy courses. We have like 80+ Udemy courses related to QA. You can improve your skills outside of our class. You can do those courses if you have extra time, right? You can be prepared. You sometimes don't need 4 months, right? Our 4 months is standard. You need like 15 to 20 hours of study, homework, right? This is our expectation, but is person to person's vary, right? Some stuff, maybe one person will be understanding in 10 hours. Same thing, another person need maybe 20 hours. So it is depending on your talent level, your how your memory works, right? How your brain works. So between 10 to 20 hours required, actually. I suggest at least 15 hours for homework and practice, but it's up to you. maybe you need 20 hours to complete successfully in 4 months for the job actually. But as I said, if you do extra activities, if you practice additional hours, you have access to Udemy, you have access to some important YouTube channels that we'll be sharing with you. You can get the job in 3 months. You will be ready for the interview in 3 months. So you just gonna tell us and we will take some mock-up interviews. If we see you are ready in 3 months, you are going to market in 3 months. But standard is 4 months, as Joel Bhai said, and our course structure. So you have to just follow our guideline so that you'll be just successful. Anybody else has any question before moving to next class? I will be creating a new meeting invite and share with you all.
Yeah, I have a question. You know that outline you have, are you gonna email that to us?
The outline, the sample outline I have right now, I will email to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and for that, make sure you sign up because we take the emails from when you sign up to that registration form, your email is there. So that's how we know who you are and what's your email address to send it to you.
Any other question from anybody else? So Joel Bhai, the second class, right, will be probably next Saturday, right? So we are actually starting from next Saturday officially, right?
Officially, right? But then tomorrow is the is another class, right?
I did not create yet, but
so tomorrow is one you can cover your part. I know that I took too much time today. You can do tomorrow, and then I will maybe do like 10 minutes to clarify anything that they have. And then the next week is going to be where we will have students that are committed, right? These guys know what they want, and they know that that's they want to take that 4 months journey with us, potentially not only 4 months, but you know, it's going to be years long. Even after you get a job, you'll still be engaging with us anyway. So yeah, so the next week we have the official start. This week is just for us to make sure that you have everything that you need in order to make a you know, conscious decisions that yes, I will put my time, I will spend a couple hours a day to learn, and I want this journey. I want to get myself into this. And again, compromising on learning is something that we don't do. We want to make sure that you know your stuff. So when you get a job, you can sleep well at night. You know, there are people that actually gets a job and they can't sleep because they are worried. You know, they can't do the work. They need help constantly, and we don't want people to have that kind of situation. Yeah, so pretty much tomorrow, same time, is going to be another session where Shantabhai will cover his topics, and I will just be there, try to do maybe 10-15 minutes if I can answer any question. And then week after, we will have our official start, and yeah, the very next week. And then we'll have more students coming in, because one thing I guess we forgot to mention, today we're going live with ABCH TV. And we'll be just answering in general why this, you know, IT is a hot topic. We're not going to do like our promotion, like our school or anything like that. It's just Shantabhai and I were invited to go and answer questions that people have. So if you want to tune in and ask questions, you can call on the hotline. If you are part of ABCH, you can actually get that number where you can call and ask question, and we'll be answering directly live from the TV. But we also assume that people will sign up after that, because we'll be at the end, we'll be sharing our registration link to people that will be listening us today. So that's about it. But next week we're gonna basically go based off of the syllabus. Today you notice that we didn't really cover anything from the syllabus. We just I just summarized things, right, just to make sure that you have what you need to understand what it is that you're jumping into. But next week we will be strictly following the syllabus. You know, we pretty much have 2 syllabuses at this point. We're going to combine. Socrates here, he created one based on It's probably more updated. So we're going to be taking this and we're going to spend a couple of days to see what are the difference and update it to make sure that everybody has the best material they can have on their hand. So that's it. Tomorrow we'll see you guys at the same time. And yeah, if you do have extra additional questions, bring in tomorrow and we'll be able to answer those.
Thank you, Joel bhai, for clarification. So guys, if you have question, you can ask right now or you can ask tomorrow when we start. If
Where
you don't
can
have
we fill
question-
out the application form?
Oh, I will share to WhatsApp group again, the form to sign up, right? Can you repeat your question, whoever asked?
Yeah,
Oh.
where can we fill out the application form?
So I don't know which group you're in. Are you in the WhatsApp group? If you're not, then we can share here the link.
No, I'm not in the WhatsApp group yet.
Okay. So let me go ahead and post it here. So that way you
You
have it.
can go to chat. Joel bhai is posting the
Yeah.
link.
Okay. All right, thank you.
1 second. Where is the link?
Sure.
Okay, there we go. Found it. Okay, I just posted and this is for everyone. If you didn't sign up yet, go for it. So that way you can get future communication from us and being able to at least being able to get the materials that we can share with you guys.
So guys, basically you will be providing your phone number and email address. So I'll be sending all the documentation or all the documents that we covered today, all like syllabus and video recording, class recording to this email group from this form.
All right, so everybody have a good day and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Shantavai, is there anything else?
No, I think you covered really, really detailed. So yeah, so we
Yeah,
are
I didn't
good
mean
now.
to. I guess I didn't mean to take the whole time, but it's just.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You summarized kind of whole course that everybody will be learning actually. So it is a big picture for everybody for now, but it will be split into small pieces every day. So
Yeah.
you'll learn small by small. So
Yeah. And also, like, again, emphasizing on the interaction, guys, feel free. We're not robots, right? We don't just all of a sudden shoot laser because you said the question that offended us. You know, there are a lot of, like, you guys probably seen on our WhatsApp group, somebody was offended just because I said you didn't sign up. That means, you know, maybe you're not dedicated. And we're gonna take off people that didn't sign up. Is it fair to say it? I mean, the group was ours for people to sign up, all right? So I said I will remove people in the future. I didn't even say like I'm going to remove effective immediately, you know. And somebody got offended. But we deal with all kind of personality, right? People have different personality. We understand. So don't feel like that we're going to be hard to talk to and we'll be shooting laser. But also you as an individual, just feel free to ask question. You know, it's your rights. So in the future, we're going to be as interactive as we can be and express your thoughts, because when you join a company, and this will help you because when you are in a team space and you can easily talk to your coworkers, this will remove a lot of anxiety if you ever have, which is, oh, how can I ask this question? Is it appropriate? Oh, what will they say? And things like that, right? It'll make you more interactive, and this will help you at work. So that's what we want. We want to make sure people ask questions. So in the future class, feel free. Don't feel like we're, you know, machines. We're not here to judge anybody. Any questions is welcome. You know, every question we will be trying to answer. All right. Thank you, guys. So we will see you guys tomorrow at 12, and really appreciate it for spending time with us today. And tomorrow Shantavai will do most of the class, and then we will provide more information onto the next week's class. Yeah, somebody has a question. Jawad, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for the session today.
Not a
Thank you
problem.
also for
That's why we're
joining.
here. All right.
you so
Thank you guys.
much.
Have a good Saturday and enjoy your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Have a great weekend.